Hello, and thank you for taking the time to view this recorded webinar from Cornell. Today we'll talk about getting on top of your fire-rated countertop opportunities. During the webinar, what we'll discuss are the requirements for rated countertops, what they can provide to the project, as well as what they can provide for you. We'll talk about capturing the requirements of labeled and listed countertops, and then walk you through the simple and successful sales process. And in doing so, we'll also go over the support and the tools that you have at your disposal to accomplish that. But first, let's lay it on the counter. Today, less than 5% of the rated counter doors are being provided with rated countertops. Very small percentage when you think about it. And that's despite the fact that NFPA 80 Section 13.3 specifically requires that where counters are supplied separately from the balance of the door assemblies, they shall be labeled and installed in accordance with their listing. So you have a very real standard out there as mandated by NFPA 80, which is often missed by the architect and GCs. However, our dealers that have recognized this have had an 80% success rate in doubling their profits at the opening by using RFIs to add rated countertops to their projects. So, coming out of this webinar, hopefully you'll be able to take the lead with architects, building officials, and general contractors on this very critical NFPA 80 requirement. So in looking at countertops, what's your counter offer? By adding fire-rated countertops, you can help ensure that the code compliance is met on the project. You can also increase property and life safety for the building occupants, reduce coordination between the trades, and allow the building owner to get their certificate of occupancy. It's not infrequent you find an authority having jurisdiction that refuses to grant the CO when they discover that non-rated countertops have been installed at a rated opening. And by the way, did I tell you it generates additional profits? So today you have a full offering. You've got 90-minute or hour-and-a-half rated substrate below the countertops. For laminates, that's a vermiculite board. For stainless steel, we use a refractory fiber board. Not that you need to know that every day, but it's nice to have in your pocket. They come in stainless steel or laminate finishes. They can be ordered either in an H-shape, T-shape, or rectangular shape. You can get single-piece countertops that go out to 11 feet wide. And if you're looking at a laminate countertop, you can provide a two-piece unit with a center joint that goes out to a maximum of 18 feet wide. And on laminate countertops, rounded edges and corners are also available. Today, your offering also provides compressed manufacturing lead times on rated countertops. We have a streamlined RFI submittal and order process and support to go along with that. And we've also created a series of countertop templates to really allow you to gather all the information you need and ensure proper coordination at the opening and help eliminate all those issues when it does come time to install it. To help you do that, we have RFIs, a document called Requirements for Labeled Countertops, and the countertop templates that I discussed before. And we'll get into these a little bit more in detail later in the presentation. So looking at the basic requirements, first you want to identify the door mark and the quantity, of course, and then you want to get the architect's prescribed shape and fabrication dimensions. And this is critical because being a UL rated product with a UL procedure, much like fire doors or rated counter doors, they can't be modified once they're in the field. So it's really important to get all that information up front. Then you want to look at the desired finish, whether it's going to be laminate or stainless steel. And if it's laminate, you want to confirm the preferred laminate manufacturer, and that's important because some have longer lead times than others, and price may vary depending on the manufacturer. Then you want to get the architect's prescribed laminate color and the catalog number so there's no confusion over what finish is to be provided. If you look at some of the basic dimensional requirements, here is a rectangular countertop used for between jamb mounted rated counter doors. And you can see there's just a few critical dimensions that are needed. You want to know your overall width, you want to know your overall length, and you want to know your overhangs on either side of the opening. Moving to a T-shaped countertop, you still have your overall length, your overall width, your overhang dimensions, but then you start looking at what your opening dimension is, and that's dimension D here, as well as the dimensions on the two returns, because they may vary. And then getting to the H shape, it's a building process, of course, so you still want to look at your overall width, your overall length, your overhangs on either side of the opening, and then you want to look at each of the returns. You'll have 4 returns, and they all may vary based on size. And it's pretty important to make sure you have the smaller of the overall length dimensions in hand, so you can calculate whether or not this will actually go through the opening. Because being a H shape, you can't slip it through. So you need to look at the opening width squared plus the opening height squared, and that needs to be greater than or equal to the overall countertop length plus its thickness, and then that number is squared. And the thickness can either be 1 5/8 inches for laminates or 2 inches for stainless steel. But don't worry, you don't need to be a math wizard to know this. Either the architect will have this already figured out, or we provide you with a calculator on the Dealer Resource Center that allows you to input your dimensions, and it'll tell you whether or not you get a pass-fail on it being able to fit through the opening. It's also real important to know what the countertop's going to be up against. In other words, what's it going to be mounted on top of. First and foremost, it needs to be fire-rated construction, and you need to make sure you validate that. But you also want to make sure that you have the construction called out and you use that as a coordination document further down the road. And one of the reasons for that is for ADA compliance. Depending on the type of opening and what service is going to be provided over the countertop, you will have different ADA requirements in terms of minimum and maximum heights. So again, working off the architect's prescribed dimensions as in the plans, you really want to nail down what your above the finished floor height is to the bottom of the countertop. Now here you can see you have 2 layers of rated drywall. It's probably an uncommon specification. Most of your walls won't require 2 layers, they'll just require 1 layer. But that could set up a situation where the contractors may be trying to save a little money, or the sub feels they don't need to provide 2, and they only provide 1, which could potentially drop the countertop below the ADA required height. So again, when you're collecting the architect's prescribed dimensions, it's really good just to have this documented so that if you do run into a situation down the road, you can either have it corrected, or you can also claim innocence and not be found guilty of misproviding material. As mentioned before, you can take the edge with laminates. You can provide radius corners on the public or the corridor side of the unit, and that's commonly requested to help protect people traveling down the corridor. And you can also provide a radius along the tenant side of the countertop so that people actually serving across the countertop don't have to deal with a sharp edge. Keep in mind though, when you do a radius either on the corner or on the edge, the other sides need to be squared. And these are only available on laminates at this time, not on stainless steel. So most of this information that we just talked about you can find in the plan documents, and that includes the opening dimensions, what type of countertop is being asked for, and the wall construction that we covered in detail. Now to help you get all the data, you can use one of the countertop templates that we've created. This gives you documentation of what you need to order based on what the architect prescribed in terms of dimensions and requirements. And then it gives you a document that you can take to the GC and the other trades and use for coordination throughout the process so that there are no surprises down the road. Now here's an example of one of the templates. As you might be able to see, it's for a T-type countertop, and it calls for a laminate finish. So it's really a paint-by-numbers document that allows you to fill in all the blanks. Following my cursor, you can see over here, first we look for what the laminate manufacturer is, as prescribed by the architect. And again, this could determine lead times or costs, so that needs to be called out. And then the specific laminate type, color, and catalog number. And then we have fill in the blanks over here in terms of all the dimensions. And it also calls out some of your minimums and maximums, so you don't have to remember those. And then you can select what you want in terms of radius corners and radius edges. And of course, this template, being for a T-shape, also calls out the wall construction. So depending on the shape, you can pick any type of wall construction, whether it's T, H, or rectangular, and then laminate or stainless steel. We've actually created 42 of these for your selection. So again, keeps everything in one place and really allows you to go through all the information and make sure nothing's been missed, and then use that as a coordination document down the road. As I said before, they also educate on limits, and some of those are you can't exceed a maximum depth beyond 4 feet on laminates, or on stainless it's 25.5 inches. The maximum gap tolerance on either side of the countertop between the jambs is 1/8 inch, and that's per our UL procedure. Now we do provide sealant with the countertop, but that's just for setting on the knee wall. That's not for fire caulking. If for some reason the gap does exceed 1/8 inch, fire caulking can be provided, but that's by others. Now if you have a between jamb mounted counter door, you need at least 6 inches on the jamb center line, and that's part of our UL procedure, and that's to allow bowing of the bottom bar in case of an actual fire. And similarly, on face of wall mounted counter fire doors, you need a 6-inch minimum coil side overhang, again to allow for the bowing. And you also need a minimum of 4 inches on each of the returns so that you have a place to mount your guides to. Now, if for some reason you do go beyond 6 inches on an overhang, additional support can be provided, but that needs to be done by others. You can either contract to do that, or the mill worker can provide it, but it does need to exist to maintain the stability of the countertop. Now, to help you fill in the blanks, all you need to do is go to the Dealer Resource Center, and if you select the product-specific submittal documents and go into fire-rated countertops, you'll see at the top of the page a link to countertop templates. If you click that, it brings up a selection of either H, T, or rectangular shape. And then depending on what's being called for by the architect, say he wants H, it takes you to another page where you can look under either laminate or stainless steel finish, depending on what's being required, and then pick your type of wall construction. And that'll give you the very specific template that you need for that particular opening. And again, it's a matter of filling in the blanks and not having to worry that you might have missed something. Now, we've also created a document called the Fire Rated Countertop Requirements document. This has a lot more information, a lot of the stuff we covered already, as well as some of the, I won't say unusual, but not common things that you might run into when looking at a project or on the job. And this is a document you can use for your own reference, or you can provide it to the architect or GC so that they're aware of what our procedure covers and what our procedure doesn't cover. Now, some of the finer points that are included in it are that it is permissible to provide trim work if they want to cover up the mounting angles, but that's something by others. So UL does allow additional structure to be added around the countertop for aesthetic reasons, but that is something outside the manufacturer's scope of work. Now, if you run into the situation where you have countertops butting up against the rated countertop and the architect wants a single laminate across the top, um, that is not available from us. That's not part of our procedure, but it can be achieved if you get approval from the authority having jurisdiction. So if that is something that's really required, it's a matter of the architect or the GC making sure that the making sure that the authority having jurisdiction does approve that. And then that's something that needs to be provided by others. Either you can perform the work or the GC will need to sub that out. And in that document, you'll find additional projection and installation guidelines, specifically based on the type of mounting and construction that you're going to be dealing with. So with those in hand, Cornell sales and customer service departments, we're happy to assist you in walking you through the sales process. It's been proven successful and over again. It's 3 steps: bid the project competitively, use RFIs and the templates to get rated countertops on the job, and then coordinate with the GC using the documents and the information you collected. So first, when looking for your opportunities, look for countertop requirements in Division 8, of course, and in Division 6, specifically Section 060655. It's called Plastic Laminates and Countertops, and a lot of times you'll find those broken out in that section of the plans. Now, when you identify that you have fire-rated counter doors and non-rated countertops, work with us to win the job and get the opportunity to RFI the countertops. What we'll be asking for is the project specifications along with any floor plan and section details you might have for each opening to help us determine what actually is being required and what can be provided. And of course, it's important to remember, if you are on a hard bid job or bidding to multiple GCs, don't include the price of the rated countertops in your bid. So wait until you do that. Wait until later to do that. But if you are on a negotiated job or you're working with one GC or a design build firm, send the countertop RFI in with your bid and include the price for it as an alternate. Okay, so you've got the job. Now it's a matter of using the RFI and the template and the requirements for labeled countertops document to win the change order and coordinate the project. So provide the information to the GC, then call them and explain that the RFI has to be addressed before the wrong product or non-code compliant product is installed and rejected by the authority having jurisdiction. Ask them to forward it to both the architect and the building official. You can tell them that you're required by us to get written confirmation from the architect and building official as to what their selection is, but they really need to forward this information to get a firm answer. Now, more likely than not, the architect and the building official will talk to each other. In some rare cases, the AHJ might allow a non-rated countertop, but usually they require that the plans be changed and that a fire-rated labeled and listed countertop is added. As I said earlier, dealers have seen an 80% success rate in using the RFI this way. Then when the RFI is returned and is confirmed that a rated countertop is required, make sure the architect completes the countertop template so that you capture all the information being required. And then together, we'll use this information to confirm that what's being asked for is compliant with our UL procedure. We'll obtain pricing based on those requirements, as well as lead times. And again, that could be determined partially by the laminate manufacturer that's being requested. And then, sales 101, just make sure you've got a change order before you place the order. And then afterwards, you can use all that information to coordinate with the GC to make sure the openings are framed and finished correctly before you get there and burn either your time or your installer's time. Like in the above picture here, there's no rated construction around the jamb, and so that would need to be changed into what you see below. And having the template in hand to specifically call out what type of construction is required really puts the onus on the GC and the subs and off of you. So by working with us to go through this simple process, you'll be able to quickly identify what countertops exist out there. You can collect all the required order information based on the architect's prescribed dimensions. You can ensure coordination with the GC, and you can maximize your profit potential. And of course, we're here to help, both in person and 24/7 online. Here's a screenshot of the Dealer Resource Center after clicking on the product-specific submittal documents. And you can see here we have a section just for fire-rated countertop submittal documents. Clicking on that, you'll see what I showed you before. It's a full list of all the support tools we talked about, and some we didn't. You've got your fire-rated countertop templates. You've got general submittal documents for coordination and warranty. And then you have the RFIs we talked about, depending on your situation, installation and maintenance manuals, additional support materials, which includes the fire-rated countertop requirements document, and also a PDF of this webinar. And then down below you'll see there's also a couple of videos. We've created 2 online instructional videos for you. One is an overview, and it has some of the sales process like we talked about today, as well as some of the things to look for in installing the countertops. And then we have an edited version specifically for the installers, so they know what to look for and how to field measure the opening if they're going to be doing that, to make sure that everything goes smoothly from start to finish. So to take it from the top, make sure you leverage that NFPA 80 actually requires listed and labeled countertops wherever there's fire-rated counter doors going into a fire-rated wall. Seems pretty obvious, seems like a no-brainer, but like I said before, 95% of the time it's not being done. Creates a great opportunity for you. When you see it's not indicated, make sure you RFI labeled countertops on every rated counter door project. Again, with an 80% success rate, it's time well spent and money easily earned. And then check and use the architect's prescribed dimensions to ensure code compliance. And then use all that information to achieve better coordination between all the trades. So to wrap up, I guess the finish line is to let countertops double your profits at rated counter door openings. With an 80% success rate on the RFI and pretty lucrative change orders, we're seeing that happening now on almost a daily basis. That 5% number is starting to climb, and make sure you take full advantage of the opportunities you have in your marketplace. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this webinar. We hope it serves you well in the future, and good selling.